Good afternoon and welcome to 23 News at Noon. I'm Brittany Carlin. The two men escaped from a Wisconsin prison early Thursday morning, but appeared this morning at Miss Carly's in Rockford. They were looking for food and supplies and warmth. South Beloit Police Chief Adam Truman is concerned how his department is going to monitor those that leave Illinois and bring marijuana right here to Wisconsin. Now, a vigil was held right here following the incident where friends and family came together to honor Latarian Brumfield, who died from his injuries. Now, to put this into perspective, the last time we saw snow on October 19th was back in 1992. Now, that was before I was even born, so it has been many years since we have seen snow here on this day. Rockford shows shootings where at least one person was hurt climb 108% in the past year. Homicides increased by 100% to 36. That's the biggest total in the city's history. Boat crews and divers are searching every inch of the Rock River in this area, and they say they won't stop until these two missing men are found.
That's a lot of leaves.
Yes, that is more than I ever would have expected.
Yeah.
All right, thanks, Mark.
To help make this a little bit easier for Jack, they also have this controller that allows them to move it themselves.
Well, as you can see here, there are nearly 250 solar panels, and those panels power up about 2/3 of the Natural Science Center here at Highland. If this referendum passes, the village hopes to add sidewalks and streetlights along streets in neighborhoods like this one. Aside from eliminating standardized test scores, NIU will also automatically accept any high school student with a 3.0 GPA or higher. And I'm out here at Davis Park, where students created several different designs to turn this open area you can see right here behind me into a focal point for downtown Rockford. During this outbreak, 50 residents will load these buses and be sent to 2 facilities, while 35 residents will stay here at Walnut Acres. Now, the first Sunday in October is known as Respect Life Sunday in the Catholic faith, and it's a time to cherish, protect, and defend human life. Over the first couple months of the pandemic, the organization didn't really see any more calls than normal, but in the last month, it's seen a 50% increase in its call volume. If you take a look around me, you can see about 100 turkeys, but that's not even a fraction of what's sold at Kaufman's for Thanksgiving. They actually sell close to 40,000 each year. Now we're going to take a look at those. First off, the most important one, making sure that you do a Thanksgiving quarantine, which should start this Friday. So that means staying home and only leaving when your house when necessary, which means when you go to work or a quick trip to the grocery store. You should also require everyone to wear a mask during your Thanksgiving festivities and only remove them when they are social distance. Now, Tabali recommends having everyone bring their own silverware and plates for their Thanksgiving dinner to avoid some contamination, and having only one person serving the meal while they're wearing some gloves and masks. Jesse Smith appeared in a Winnebago County courtroom for the first time today, and his attorney Christopher Durango says that the prosecution's evidence is flimsy and that it all stems from a letter written by a former girlfriend of Smith's about a decade ago. Fauerbach says on any given year, about 5% of renters aren't making their payments on time, but that number has doubled during the pandemic to 10% of renters not making their payments on time, and some not making them for several months. Disrupting the early morning Christmas quiet in Nashville, federal and state police are investigating a car explosion that sent 3 to the hospital and caused authorities to evacuate downtown for hours. And while some Republicans believe Trump has the right to challenge election results, others are turning against him, saying he should trust the process. Mike, overjoyed is exactly how I would describe the staff here at Abrio, as they just opened their doors for business about an hour ago, seeing about a handful of eager customers coming in, excited to spend a night out on the town. Most of the teachers are excited to receive a vaccination. Only a few were a bit timid, but overall the educators say it was a quick and easy process because of the enormous amount of support. And a man who police say killed 3 people and wounded 4 others during a series of shootings in and around Chicago Saturday had shared several angry social media posts leading up to the attacks. In the Byron School District Fire Department and many of the area businesses, they rely on this nuclear power plant to keep the community filled with resources. Now, typically Jack & Company fills about 250 of these bottles in a week, but with the coronavirus, they're up to filling about 500 of these bottles. January 16th marks National Religious Freedom Day, and it's a day to cherish American values and the fundamentals of freedom. Deputies are going to be driving by people's homes this month with their lights and sirens on to wish them a happy birthday. fall games, changing colors, and smiling families. That's what you can find as you head over to the Clem Arboretum and Botanic Gardens during its week-long event. National Guard troops are surrounding the Illinois State Capitol building in Springfield today ahead of possible riots. 364 patients were tested right here at this site for the first day of COVID-19 testing at the drive-through testing site. Last year, Mighty Vine was able to produce nearly 8 million pounds of tomatoes, but now with the opening of Phase 3, they'll be able to produce nearly 12 million pounds of tomatoes. An update on the double murder investigation in Janesville. Police say they have identified a suspect they believe is responsible for shooting and killing 2 women early Monday morning. And a brand new exhibit at the Discovery Center Museum brings the childhood fun of playing with Hot Wheel toys to Rockford. Businesses from around the region arrived here in Rochelle to hear plans for future growth, share some suggestions with city leaders, and explore investment opportunities. This is a center that the tennis community describes as a place that taught so many people to love the sport of tennis, and they are just devastated to see the building close. Right now, each of these machines costs $25, but with this new legislation, that can go up to $250. This summer's project focuses on tearing down the parking lot that was previously in this spot and building a much larger one. Just yesterday, the Winnebago County Health Department marked this building condemned. Now that's after the fire chief noticed alarms going off inside the building. I'm joined here by protesters who believe that this tabernacle that's been a part of the Freeport community for more than 100 years deserves to stay and not be destroyed. Although recreational marijuana has been legal for more than a week, the harvesting of hemp was approved last year and now is growing in popularity. Here, right along Main Street, you can see lights shining right above the road, and you can even see lights shining in blue right here along the sidewalks, all to remember fallen Rockford police officer Jamie Cox. Lloyd police warn area businesses of counterfeit $100 bills being used throughout the community. Dozens of close friends and family came together with balloons, flowers, and candles, not just to celebrate Mother's Day, but to celebrate Zachary's son Shaquille's 24th birthday. Now, President Trump is denying a New York Times report about his tax return data that showed, quote, chronic losses and years of tax avoidance. For the first time in almost 2 months, less than 100,000 Americans are hospitalized for COVID-19. But January has proven to be the deadliest month in Americans' COVID crisis. If you take a look at the stoplights here at the intersection, there's a couple of lights that are above the intersection. But if you take a look down the road this way, you'll notice there is not one single street light, which could make it dangerous for pedestrians walking at night. Now, the first thing you need to do is head over to your local courthouse and ask for these documents called the Firearms Restraining Order. And as these extreme cold temperatures hit the state line, the Better Business Bureau warns that scammers are on the lookout for people who will do anything to protect themselves from the cold. While in Dubuque, you can also make a pit stop here at the world's shortest and steepest railway. It all started when a Rock County Sheriff deputy noticed a car that was believed to be stolen. He then heard gunshots and saw the driver leave the vehicle. And multiple homes on North Court Street catch fire early Saturday morning, leaving the homes unlivable. Now, once this site is completed, it will bring more than 500 jobs to Beloit. You can actually use your phone. So you go over here and there's actually a QR code that you could take your phone and scan, and then it pops up in the top, you click on it, and that's how you donate. We brought you a heartwarming story yesterday about Caitlin Samaniego, who won the battle against COVID-19 after 73 days. And to celebrate her return home, family and friends took part in a drive-by parade.
Everybody wants to smoke and eat edibles.
Dairy Ripple manager Tracy Roulette says adding a marijuana dispensary in South Beloit could help business.
If it's out on 39, they're going to come from Beloit right here to go to Gardner and out.
And provide the city much needed revenue.
And I know we have a lot of plumbing issues, which is under the roads.
South Beloit Mayor Ted Rail says the city could tax 3% for cannabis sales.
We would like to spend a significantly greater amount on that itself.
Rail says a marijuana company called Medmar is interested in building a store in the city because of its location.
Right on a state line setting. So the population that would take advantage of marijuana sales, it's far expanded.
South South Beloit Police Chief Adam Truman is concerned how his department is going to monitor those that leave Illinois and bring marijuana right here to Wisconsin.
I also worry about people abusing marijuana just as some do alcohol.
Which is why Truman says training will be the most important part.
The entire staff will be trained on what to look for, how to detect people that are driving impaired.
Potential for the city economically is remarkable.
Working for you in South Beloit, Brittany Carlin, 23 News.
Real that they're tearing it down.
It's a little saddening.
It really hurts me that they're tearing down all these old, beautiful buildings.
After 123 years, the Kishwaukee Elementary School building is coming down. But many community members say the memories made will never be forgotten.
Recess time, when they used to make the big snow plows back in the back, we used to play King of the Mountains back there in big snowball fights.
Johnny Rucker attended Kishwaukee School in the 80s.
That's right there. I guess it was the office now that they just tore down, but that used to be my pre-kindergarten class.
Rucker says he's not surprised the school is being demolished, given the condition it's in.
And the kids nowadays need air conditioning and stuff like that, and that school probably didn't have it.
Others believe it's a waste to remove the school completely.
Even if you don't use it as a school, you can always use it as something else. Either homes for the homeless, or you can do tutoring there of different grades.
Rockford Public Schools 205 says the space will turn into a playground and parking lot for Constance Lane Elementary School, where kids from Kishwaukee, Nelson, and a portion of Beyer will attend starting this fall.
Growing up around this area, lots done changed. A lot of the houses are gone now, so I guess it's a new beginning.
In Rockford, Brittany Carlin, 23 News.
Just want to get my kids up out of here in the most safest way as possible.
Friday morning's shooting at Auburn Manor was the last straw for Essence Carter.
Past 4 years that I've been here, I can name a handful of situations that went on out here.
Carter lives one building away from where police say 3 male victims and a female victim were shot. All of them went to the hospital. One of them has life-threatening injuries.
It's just hard to bear out here with my kids knowing that they got to live in this type of situation.
Carter says she's even scared to let her kids use the play set outside of her apartment.
It's bullying going on out here, you know, like, I mean, it's just, it's not something that I want my kids to be interested in.
There's 1,000 people that live in this complex. This is crazy.
Rockford Police Chief Dan O'Shea says the shooting appears to be isolated and no one else is at risk.
We don't need to close anything or road closures or school lockdowns or anything. We don't have any of that going on.
O'Shea says the community has the right to be outraged by the violence.
It happens, too frequently, and we need the public's help to continue to come to us to help us catch these people and get them off the streets. Everybody wants their children to be safe. Everybody wants to live in a safe environment.
Working for you in Rockford, Brittany Carlin, 23 News.
We're running so many runs now that volunteers just can't complete that task.
If we have 2 or 3 calls in a row, who's gonna go on the second and third calls? Those are our big concerns.
Getting that first unit, especially on a fire or especially in a cardiac arrest, to get that first unit in the ambulance on scene quickly is the real critical thing.
Community fire departments across the country are experiencing a shortage of volunteers.
Being a volunteer fireman or a paid-on-call firefighter, it's a big commitment. And a lot of people get here, and then all of a sudden, getting up in the middle of the night, that's really not what I want to do, and they don't last very long. So there is a high turnover.
You just gotta go with it, you gotta roll the punches and you gotta respond. That's kind of what you agree to when you sign up.
Garrett Andrews is a volunteer with the Cherry Valley Fire Department.
I've always wanted to help people. I was always interested in emergency medicine. I kind of took an EMT class and fell in love with it.
For Andrews, becoming a paid-on-call firefighter wasn't exactly what he expected.
It was a lot more physical than I thought it was going to be. I was more into the EMS side of things.
But he stuck with it, even through the challenges of working 2 other jobs.
I work for Lifeline Ambulance. It's a private ambulance company based out of St. Anthony's Hospital. Also, I do some construction, landscaping work on the side as well.
Volunteer firefighters typically receive calls through an app on their phone, alerting them to respond.
It gives me the specifics and it'll map it out.
I have a pretty generous boss when I'm working with landscaping, and if I'm in the vicinity and there's a call, he would let me come down.
After accepting the job, a volunteer must drive to the station, quickly put on the suit, go and get on the fire truck, and head out to the scene.
If they're sitting watching TV, they can obviously jump up and run out the door, and response time is better for them. And if they live closer, that's even better yet. But that's not the case with all of them all of the time.
When Loves Park Fire Chief Jerry Wiltfang started his job, the department's average response time was 15 minutes.
We can't save lives. We can't save heart attacks if we're 30 minutes away.
To try and reduce the response time, the city hired 15 full-time firefighters. Now response times are between 4 and 8 minutes.
First engine in, and then mutual aid is on the way, and then we're backfill all those additional spots with our POCs or our volunteers.
Cherry Valley Fire Department also added full-time firefighters, 18 to be exact. And the village has about 30 volunteers.
Full-time guys usually will make that 8 minutes.
But according to North Park Fire Chief Joel Holstrom, his department is sticking to a volunteer-only department.
It's a great service to our community because we don't have the tax base nor the budget to support paying full-time personnel 24/7. We just don't have it. Our taxes are not enough.
I like helping people. It's just what I like to do. I love service. My family's always been involved in service, and it's just who I am. It's how I grew up, how my parents raised me.
For the 23 News I-Team, I'm Brittany Carlin.
I've been personally let go from a job for failing a drug test.
After being laid off from his factory job in McChesney Park, Ryan Warren was eager to return.
And then when I came back to work, there was a retest for employees that had been laid off, and I did not know that was going to happen.
His test indicated marijuana in his system, and the company let him go. Warren doesn't think it was right.
It is one of the drugs that stays in your system longer, but that doesn't always indicate impairment. You could have used, 3 weeks prior and still test positive 3 weeks later.
Testing for marijuana and revising current work policies is now a big topic of conversation among employers, especially in Illinois, which will legalize marijuana use on January 1st.
It's very important that we communicate, review, and revise those policies.
Alpha Controls and Services is an engineering company that currently has a zero-tolerance policy.
We have random drug testing, and then if we would have an incident, we've got a whole policy to go through, working with that employee to give them an opportunity to remedy the situation.
Owner Frank Rotello is looking into making some changes.
We value our employees. They're our #1 asset, so all of these things revolve around how we deal with our employees, and especially in today's world where you're trying to attract and retain talent, you've really got to look for the best interests of your employees.
Since many of Rotello's employees are at job sites assisting customers and using company vehicles, he believes continuing with a policy similar to his current one might be best.
Making sure we're in compliance, not only for the safety of our employees, but also overall cost of implementing the new policies on our workers' comp and other things.
The big issue here is how do you balance the Illinois law, which allows an employee to use a lawful product like marijuana outside of working hours, and the law which says that an employer cannot discriminate against an employee because of the use of those products, versus the employer's right to have policies and to maintain a drug-free workplace.
Attorney Jim Paragus focuses his practice on employers and fields countless questions concerning the new recreational marijuana law.
And this kind of law, which now calls into question what can you test someone for, when can you take action against someone who uses what is now a lawful product, has really kind of put some questions into how do I manage these risks.
Paragus says the best thing employers can do is be very specific when updating their policy.
This next 6 months that we have until this law becomes effective to review those policies, to review its practices on drug-free workplaces, on drug testing.
And once that's done, Paragus says training is the next step.
Train our supervisors. What kinds of conduct should be on the lookout for in determining whether or not someone might be impaired or under the influence.
It's exactly what would have helped Warren keep his job.
So I wasn't a bad employee at all. I was probably one of a model employee there. But that one little thing was a deal breaker for them.
Warren believes everything happens for a reason, and failing that drug test brought him to Maple Glen Care Center, where he helps people find the right strand of medical marijuana to ease their symptoms.
I'm sure I helped people in some way or another, but this I have more of a hands-on, face-to-face helping with people, and that's what I love. I really, really do.
For the 23 News I-Team, I'm Brittany Carlin. These numbers take a look at January through November of 2020 versus the same time frame in 2019. Now let's take a look here. Starting off, Rockford saw an increase of 49% in shots fired this year, with those numbers in 2020 being 614 versus 411 in 2019. Another statistic that went up was 33%